Hello, everyone. Welcome to Blockchain Value, where together we'll learn. We'll learn by having conversations from each other, how to be involved, how to build, and how to be a productive member of the Web3 blockchain community. I invite folks who are builders, who support builders, who are doing exciting, innovative things, and we ask them questions and we'll learn together. If you have suggestions who I should talk to, I am all ears. Definitely write your suggestions in the comment or DM me or find other ways to get in touch with me. This is a place where I solicit feedback and recommendations from the community. And so far, you have been amazing at it. So definitely do that. We have a fantastic conversation coming up today. Specifically, we will focus about how to get in, how to be productive, how to really to be part of Web3 space in the early days with folks like you and I that may be technical, maybe not, can do today to be part of the conversation, to be at the table, and to be impactful. And with that, I have someone I knew for a long time. Hi, Brian. It's good to see you. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, hi. So thank you very much for having me, Olga. My name is Brian Schuster. I am a self-taught software engineer, blockchain enthusiast for the last 5 to 6 years, and now Web3 founder. I founded devMint School, which is really focused on helping fill in the talent needs of the Web3 industry by finding great, interesting, talented folks in the Web2 space and not only upskilling them in Web3, but also then placing them into interesting Web3 organizations. I have a passion for technology. I have a passion for the space, and I really love what it's doing. So I'm very interested in building here.
Yeah, building is pretty awesome. Brian, we've known each other for a while. We're both kind of, I guess, early in this industry, and we talked about how the beginning is long. But we've been here for a couple of years. Both have a lot of interest. How did you discover Web3? What was the pivotal moment where you wanted to get in and be part of the conversation?
Well, I guess I started like most people, and I started as an investor in 2016. And honestly, I wasn't really interested in the technology at that time. I wanted to learn about investing, period. But I thought stocks were kind of boring, and I didn't really want to deal with that. And I saw cryptocurrency. It's like, oh, nerd money, let's go and play around. Wasn't until I started playing with it that I saw the price moving around, and there's some really weird stuff happening with the technology. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? So I spent like a year studying this stuff on my own, reading books like Mastering Bitcoin, Mastering Ethereum, reading white papers and stuff. And it took me about 6 months to a year before I decided, okay, I want to start writing about the stuff. And I actually started on Quora actually when it was, I still liked the platform back then. And as I started writing about it, I started realizing there's a lot of hunger for this industry. There's a lot of hunger for information here. And I really just got started mostly as somebody who's helping in the industry, just giving advice and doing things like that. It wasn't until more recently that I did a lot of technology work. I did a lot of learning with Solidity, helping projects along and doing that I was like, not only is this a great space, but I'm committed to actually making something happen here. And I found a great opportunity with devMint to be able to go and do that. So, it started the last 5 years, and it was just really a slow build up to get to this point.
And I love this sort of self-initiative that you've taken on. And it's interesting how you talk about, it was lots of little steps.
Yeah.
And actually, it sounds like somewhat of a steep learning curve. What do you think? You might have enjoyed some of it. And, for those of us who kind of just learn for recreation, that may be even fun. But there is a learning curve.
Yeah, there is. And honestly, I credit reading one book in particular years before I ever cared about cryptocurrency with getting me in the right mindset. And you've heard a lot about decentralization. You'll see that's a big buzzword in the industry. But most people don't understand what that means and how it creates value. Well, years before, I think it was in 2012, my dad gave me a book called The Starfish and the Spider. Nothing to do with cryptocurrency, nothing to do with Bitcoin. It was all about the difference between centralization and decentralization, particularly in organizations. And it really primed me to really start looking at what do decentralized organizations do differently than centralized organizations. Really, one of the things they get down to is centralized organizations protect value, as in money, goods, that sort of thing, versus decentralized organizations protect values. They protect things that are important to the community, and they really get tied around those things. And I recognize that as important. So by the time I got to Bitcoin, I didn't have to be convinced it was useful. And I guess that's the thing that got me really moving on the path quite quickly, which was I can understand the technology, or I could learn the technology. That takes time. But understanding that philosophy helped move me forward faster than anything else. And it's a thing today that I still struggle with trying to explain to people. If you don't value decentralization, you don't value one of the core things that makes Bitcoin, or any of this industry work.
That's very interesting. So I haven't read the book, it sounds like it's a good primer for folks to begin that is not technical and really kind of cuts at the core value of decentralization. So thank you for that recommendation. Mm-hmm. I started learning more when I had when I was advising, and then I got a full-time job, and for me it was also a learning curve. But I love learning. I'm sort of a professional learner. Mm-hmm. So for me it was enjoyable to climb that steep curve. But why do you think it's so hard for many to be involved in Web3? Is that the learning curve, or there's more? I
think it's just that it's where the value is being created today and what's necessary. There's actually a great website, and it really dealing with the internet, because I think because we went through the internet revolution and everyone remembers that, they forgot how difficult it really was. And so there's a book called, or a website actually, that's called, I think, Living Internet or something to that nature. It was basically written in the 90s, but it was like published in 2000 to explain how the internet worked. And this was doing the same thing that a lot of Web3 organizations are doing today, which is or educational organization, which is just teaching how the internet works. And it's fascinating to go to the site and see what they try to explain to people. Like, imagine if you dealt with someone who doesn't know what the internet is, and you're trying to explain the value, and you have to start with TCP over IP. And that's the thing you have to understand how to deal with the protocols, or why HTTP matters at the beginning of URL. These are things that most services don't explain. You don't have to explain encryption or other things, but we built up the industry enough that it becomes very easy. The problem is we're in the early phases where, in order to be somebody who uses the space, you have to know if you will risk your funds if you don't understand things like wallet management and things. So you have to play around with the wiring. I think it's just we're so early, and there's so much infrastructure yet to be built that it just ends up being so technical that it goes over most people's heads. Not everyone, but most people. Yeah, no, I'm with you. The knowledge I usually give is you don't have to understand the electricity to understand the benefits of it, right? It's right. Electricity today is magic. It makes this conversation happen. It makes the light work. It makes my meal warm. But if you ask me to tell you how it works, even with my pretty good knowledge of physics, I will in the end, probably say just magic. It's pure magic. Right. And if you sit down and you think about how many years of innovation it really took to get electricity as easy as it was. I mean, just something as simple as the plug. I mean, basically, when we first started building appliances, we literally just took the light bulb, which was a plug, and literally attached it to the end of electrical outlets. And that was how you got electricity in. And the on-off switch was an innovation. There was a time where in order to be able to shut off a thing, you had to literally unplug it. That took years and years to figure out. And we're kind of in the pre-plug stage, or just figuring out, people would really like an off switch here, so they don't kill themselves using our, giant machine. So because of that, it's harder, but there's a benefit too, because that's the thing. If you got into computers in the 80s or the internet in the 90s, or you were one of the first mobile phone developers, back when the iPhone got out, there's a big opportunity. So it's almost like if you can stomach the pain of learning, the opportunity is just immense. If you wait, it'll get easier, but the opportunity will be less interesting in the future, or it'll be more distributed. It would be interesting, but it'll be a little bit more crowded. So right. It's a different opportunity. That's actually a really interesting observation. I think the beginning is long, and there are opportunities at every stage. It is just really a trade-off how crowded the field is and the quality of the opportunity. And for those folks who like learning, they can leverage the early opportunity to, in a less competitive space and be the first and establish themselves with authority and,
and lead. It's just, there are opportunities at every stage. It just really kind of just depends, what you can stomach and, how much learning you like doing and all of that. So today, if you want to get involved in Web3, what do you do? Like, what is your first step? What is your second step? What is your third step?
Right. I'll go phase by phase. For me, I've spent years coming up with a really simple model of what people do. And I wanted something that didn't look like go to 4 years of school, then go and network and go and do that. We needed something that moved faster than that, So I kind of built my model to take a month to go through the whole process. So I just adapted it to the Web3 space. The first things that you need to do is just there's flat out some level of education you have to do. If you go into a space and enter a community and you're just lost and asking questions, it's not terrible, right? There are some communities that are designed for that. But the truth is that the only way that you're going to actually create value long-term is by kind of finding opportunities and executing on those things. And people who are learning are not the type of people you want to trust with your stuff. And don't get me wrong, you can ask simple questions. You can ask questions if you're hey, I'm not technical, but I need to go into the space. But you should show that you're feeding yourself, right? That if somebody gives you a book, you go and read that, right? That shows a lot of commitment on your part. If you see YouTube videos, you go and watch YouTube videos. So you have to first educate yourself. You can't get around that. The next thing though is you can overeducate yourself on these things. Right. And that's something that's really important because I find people who are, who just go and learn, but they don't do anything with it. And the best way to actually start applying these things is to actually get out in the community and practice what you've learned and just start having conversations, start learning, start putting pieces together. You learn something about Bitcoin. Now go talk to a Discord group that has that out there. So Discord groups, Twitter chats, Twitter Spaces, conversations like this. I'm going to be throwing nuggets out at you and I have my own individual perspective. And you're going to be taking that knowledge and you're going to be fitting it together. And it's going to be kind of putting together this map of the industry on how you know it. Education gives you the right words, but it doesn't show you where the opportunity is. Somebody like me is going to reveal to you where the opportunity is. And that's really the next phase. So step 2, you got to go out and get involved with communities and find places that really jive you up. This is really about passion at the end of the day, or interest. Go to people that you're interested in because that's where the best opportunities are going to be. And then the third step really is just you got to find an opportunity. You have to proactively go and build things. If you take one thing away from this conversation, it should be, I need to go out, and if I want to make value, I got to proactively go and build. So go to a Discord group and use your skills, not just Web3 skills, but marketing skills, technical skills, engineering, communication. Find a problem that they're not solving, a group that you like, and say, hey, let's go and actually solve that thing. And then go and build something and show them what you've done. That is the best way to generate value.
I love it. And I think my takeaway that at this stage, if you're a passive learner who wants a structured syllabus with neatly, organized reading materials, that is probably not the stage. This is a stage for folks who have a lot of curiosity and motivation to self-pace, ask questions, search, reach a dead end, turn around, and then learn some more. And then once they have some confidence, then take even sort of increasing amounts of risks and trying and building. Am I summarizing it right, or would you?
That's an interesting way of phrasing it. And I don't think I disagree. So let's talk about a space where you actually can go through beginning to end and do this. What are the elements of that? Web development, full stack development. It's something that we do university courses over because we understand it so well. And the reason we can do this is, first off, people don't discover industries like they learn about industries, right? In order for me to have a syllabus and sit down and know everything to do, and I do a syllabus because I want to get a job or at least want to learn about this stuff. Take this program, know everything that's there. I have to know about the industry, right? It's kind of it's kind of an interesting parallel to smart contracts, where in order to be able to write the smart contract, I have to think through every possible outcome that could be there because it's going to be forever. Curriculum's kind of the same way. I have to know the curriculum. I have to know what companies are hiring for, and I have to kind of build people onto that pathway. That takes a lot of cycles to figure out. To do that. And the way you learn about that is not by structuring a curriculum, is you go out and figure out what problems there are, you iterate, you find the problems, you go a certain direction and look at what's there. And then you go and how do I say this? Then you go back and then you figure out how to teach people. Then you structure the curriculum. So right now, the way I like to think about it is more like I'm giving you tools in a tool belt right now. You have a builder mindset. When I teach you about Bitcoin, I'm not giving you the hallway that takes you from here to a job. I'm giving you a tool set to put in your belt and say, go start using this elsewhere because you're going to find things that you can go and fix. I don't know what the outcome is, but that's the opportunity. If I can't tell you, that's what it is. Then that's the thing. Structured programs don't have an unlimited upside. Unstructured programs do, because you may find something that's like, oh, I didn't realize this was here. And hey, you're the first one here. Congratulations. You rang the lucky bell.
I love it. The trade-off between structured and unstructured
right
programs. That's a really interesting framework to think through that. But either way, this is more pressure on the learner to have initiative, to take charge of and the responsibility for your learning, for your experiences, for your applications.
Yeah, and especially in the Web3 space, this is the truth. Because the older industry, let me put it this way: people who take initiative are always going to be valued over folks who are waiting to be told what to do. That's true in Web2 industry. That's been true for years. But in Web3, it's particularly important because like the structure of organizations are changing. They're really making an effort to go self-managed. And that, if you've never studied that, it is a very, very different paradigm from the way we operate today. I don't know if they're going to be successful here. They're still experimenting. I think they're going to change some things, but it really says, hey, you're not just an employee anymore. You're somebody who has real accountability to the organization. So if you want to build something, no boss is going to tell you, I need to go and solve this. You need to take accountability. You need to go and you need to solve these things. So one of my kind of pet theories, and one of the things I hope to be able to change, is that, like, what makes a founder different? And let's talk about this. We tell stories about people like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, where it's like, they're this founder that goes off, and we kind of put them in like a godly status, on the way they operate. But really, at the end of the day, they just have a very, very high level of control and a level of accountability towards whatever they're doing. It's really accountability at the end of the day. Lots of other things have to go to be right. Yes, they have to be smart. Yes, they have to be, have to be in the right place at the right time. But they also need to have this high level of accountability. And I believe the next generation of organizations will be democratizing that accountability. That right now we still build organizations where only the CEO, the lordly management team, has the right decision-making capacity. The next level organizations are going to be the ones that figure out how to take that accountability and you properly split it up in the organization so all employees can really take on the mission of the organization, can really act in the same way. And that's why I think self-managed organizations are going. And Web3 has taken that further than pretty much any other organizational structure that I've seen out there. They haven't figured it out, but they're getting closer. So if you can ingrain that today, you're a big step ahead.
That's very interesting. And I think the timing is right. As we kind of like you read about, going back to work after COVID, a lot of people resisted.
Yeah.
Managers are struggling how to measure your value other than FaceTime. So the time is pretty good for that. I am with you there. You said a few things that I thought were interesting, and so I'm going to follow up. One of the things you said was about sort of, you don't have to be technical. There's an opportunity for you to learn and provide value no matter what your background is. And I'm just sort of curious, what are the opportunities for folks who, don't code and frankly, don't want to code?
It's the same opportunity as exists in most other startups. These are businesses at the end of the day. Look, we're not smart enough to teach decentralization directly, right? I don't know, me personally, I don't know the right way to take a non-technical person and teach them about how to deal in this world. That's why devMint exists in this certain fashion it's in today, where I know if I teach you Solidity and Ethers.js and Hard Hat, you're going to get it and you're going to get good skills, but you're going to get decentralization. I don't know how to extract that yet and give it to you. So you need to understand that. And right now you're kind of out in the wilderness, where it's I don't go off into the wilderness. And when you are enlightened by decentralization, come back and now you're ready, right? I don't know how to give that to you. But once you get the philosophy and culture, you're I'm bought into this. Decentralization matters, permissionless future, hoorah, rah. At that point, companies are just hiring based on what they want. Yesterday, I had a big talk to the devMint group, and I went through a job description of here's a sales manager working for Web3. And there were really only two things that were separate for a sales manager in Web3. One is that they know how to talk to technical folks. That's obvious. You're in a technical space, you need to talk to technical folks. That's not unique to Web3, but it's going to be important. And two, you're conversant in the technology and you're passionate about it. That passionate, I've talked to organizations time and time again, they're willing to drop so many requirements, they will not drop passion. They will not drop mission. And so that's the thing there. So quite honestly, if this is something you're interested in and you're passionate about, you just need to find a company that you jive with and that you're interested in going through and you're willing to take whatever level of risk they have. That's the other thing too. This is very much still startup land, and whether or not that's right for you is a personal decision.
That's really interesting. It's funny because, startups generally tend to really focus on the mission, the passion. But I agree, in the Web3 where you likely hiring somebody who hasn't done it before. Very likely, maybe not even at all, or to the in this specific sub industry. I think you're much more likely to climb that steep curve of learning if you actually want to do it. And passion is probably an excitement and showing commitments that you've taken classes or read the books or followed or whatever, engaged. Really goes a long way to a hiring manager to say, yes, this person doesn't know, but I trust she will learn because she already showed the skin in the game. She already showed passion is another way of saying she has a skin in the game. She's going to keep on learning. I think that's what people want to see. And that's why compromising on passion, which is another way of saying skin in the game, is really, really challenging.
Yeah. I mean, when I teach mentorship, because I've talked to hundreds of folks about how to get new jobs in any sort of space, really at the end of the day, hiring is really about two separate things. One of them is skills testing. Do you have the ability to do the job that I need you to? And that is truly binary at the end of the day, based on whatever company. You either have enough to do the job I have in mind for you or for whatever role I'm paying for, right? Even if there's certain skills, it's like, well, you may not be good enough to be a senior engineer, but a mid-level, I'm willing to deal with that. Still binary, even though it's at a different level. Once they figured that out, it's about trust. That's it. You may have the best skills in the world, but if I can't trust you to take my mission, right? And that's the thing. People put themselves on risk. I've been a hiring manager where I've hired folks and I've been sweating bullets where I'm like, I feel like I'm taking a risk on this guy. Is this good enough for my team? Is this good enough for my organization to hire this individual in? It really is about trust. And so look, most people, most employers and most people looking for jobs and people hiring folks do the same thing where it's like, hey, I showed you enough. Trust me. And then the organization goes, I need more from you, show me that. It's a mismatch in trust. If you can bypass that and go and say, I'm going to do the extra work. I'm putting myself out there. I'm going to believe in this. I'm going to show that I can do good work here. I'm going to show that even when you're not looking, I'm going to do this. It goes a long way to show trust. And it goes a long way. And that point, if you can show that they can trust you, it's just about values management and whether or not they think you can do a job. You're going to increase the number of people who want to hire you if you can show you're trustworthy. That's just a fact.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I have a few more questions. We're coming to the end. Mm-hmm. You talked about opportunities in the early days. So I'm going to ask you, what are the best opportunities? And I'm going to extend the early days to 3 to 5 years. Right. What are the opportunities in the next 3 to 5 years?
One, I think it's a couple of spaces. One of them that's more traditional is co-founding organizations. Folks, it is crazy because right now I'm looking for mid to senior level engineers. I'm finding principal engineers and organizations that are like, I need co-founders and I want to co-found an organization. And the truth is, owning equity in an early organization is going to be the thing that pays you the best long term. You're just not going to find a better opportunity, whether or not you're getting acquired, whether or not you take that long term, whether or not you're looking for other organizations, credibility. So, that's just going to be the best way. If you can stomach the risk to go off and be able to do that, that is going to be one of your best ways to kind of build opportunities. So keep an eye out for that. The second way that you're going to generate value for yourself is by going out and joining some of these weirder organizations. And this is the thing where this is not the thing you spend 80% of your time on. This is the 10 to 20% of, okay, this is kind of freaking weird, but I'm going to try it out. Join a DAO and commit a few hours a week to helping them build up. Take tokens, join an NFT community, own people there, and actually try to make a name for yourself in that space, or just commit to a community and stick with it for 6 months to see what's going on. Those opportunities may not end up being like the big thing, right? A lot of these organizations are going to dissolve. They're not going to make it. So if you're willing to lose a little bit of money, I truly mean a little bit of money, and you're willing to get involved with these things, you're going to make connections. You're going to you're going to expand your network. You're going to show you're for real. You're going to show you've been involved in the space. And the truth is when these organizations dissolve, the people just don't die. They just don't go live. They join other organizations. They expand their network. They get hired by the bigger fish that are like, hey, you're a great community person. Come join Alchemy. Come join Gemini, because we got some opportunities there. So by going out and showing that you're, doing this, joining those DAOs and really getting geeky with it and just being very casual about it, just going out, is a great way to learn. So I think that's going to be like the longest term, like probably the best benefit, because I really think DAOs are going to be the next thing that really kicks off. And I think today we're talking about NFTs. 3 years from now, I think we're going to be talking about DAOs and their tokens once people figure that out. And I think finally, just the biggest, the other biggest opportunity is just buy tokens and hold them. Just flat out, whatever you believe in, what you do here. I believe that, like, look, you have to put Bitcoin and Ethereum in two places. Either they're not going to win in the end, they're not going to find value, or they're still going to expand. I don't think there's an in-between where it's like, no, this is the right market. Like, no, they're not at the right market. They're still growing like crazy. So you believe they're going to be in some significant value in the future, that they're going to continue there, or they're going to die. And if you believe it, buy and hold the tokens, buy and hold the communities you believe in. And especially since we just started the bear market, it's kind of a good time to get it at a discount. Not investment advice, but I would say that's another way that you can get involved and stay committed, because you'll feel committed after doing that. So those are my 3 ways.
Yeah, having a skin in the game. And yes, absolutely not an investment advice. And if you, live in paycheck to paycheck, do not do that. But if you have some discretionary income that you don't mind losing, that is a great way to learn. And for all of us, that will be a different amount. And for some of us, it will be a no amount. So be responsible, seek advice, and, definitely do not lose your shirt. That is not a cool thing to do. So, but yeah, having a skin in the game. And one way to do it is to hold some tokens. And one way to do it is to join an organization to commit your time. And yes, equity holding is always a good thing. In the end, that is kind of how you go ahead. I just love all that advice. So thank you for sharing. A very prevalent term in this industry is FOMO, fear of missing out. Is that thing real? Like, what are your thoughts there?
I think that fear of missing out really comes from, I think you can beat it. And it does that. I think there's a tendency in our society to want to specialize very quickly. We have this myth that the best, the greatest in any field, the people who make the biggest, are people who are like super narrow and super specialized. And like we think of like the Bill Gates of the world, where it's like, gee, he was coding when he was like 14, and that's our path to do that. So I think fear of missing out is kind of like, oh shit, I missed something, so I'm just going to jumpstart and go into the thing. The truth is that a vast majority of like the top performers and the people who end up making a really big impact have this period of exploration that they go through. And that fear of missing out is really like saying like, oh, I need to jump in this, but they're very like serious about it, where it's like, no, I need to invest $10,000, $20,000, a ton of money into the space to make this happen. But really you need to beat it by just letting yourself explore. That's what I think that 10 to 20% of your time is really about. Go learn about those different tokens, like go learn the space. In a week, you're not going to be able to get in on this. You may miss some mint or airdrop that would have made you $20,000 today if you would have thought of it to do that. But over the course of 6 months, you can jump from community to community, space to space, and you can ease up. Because the truth is, fear of missing out is really just about, oh, I need to find the right place for myself. But you can't figure that out quickly. It's a very much an exploration of, what am I passionate about? What am I good at? What do people want to pay me for? And so like for me with devMint, it's like, it was only after I closed the door on saying, no, I don't want to start a proper Web3 company. I don't want to start a coin or a token or anything. And I saw a lot of those. I thought at one point, oh, I can make a lot of money if I did that. It's only after I closed that door that the fear of missing out left, Still pops up every once in a while, right, with stuff there, but it's kind of realizing, nope, this is not the right thing for me. I'm not trying to start that thing. I'm starting this. And it's in that commitment that you then really become comfortable in yourself. So that's what I would say. It's to be resisted, maybe is the right way to say.
Yeah, no, I think I would summarize what you just said in that it's important to know what you want, but it's also important to know what you don't want.
Yes. That's it.
And getting to the both positive and negative space and have clarity. And then there's going to be a gray space that you're still unsure about and kind of very intentionally going through life, positive, negative, gray, and I'm making a decision about it. I find that very important, making a commitment to what you're not doing, because that's kind of how we eventually get to focus and clarity and overcome uncertainty. Last question.
Yes.
What is the best ways or opportunity to invest your time to learn about this technology? Like, what is the biggest bang for your buck in terms of your time so that you can overcome the barriers and the steep learning curve and get to sort of thinking where the opportunities are?
Sure. Number one is that I would find whatever your preferred medium is, book, video, podcast, and really find one organization really you're really enjoying whatever they have and they got good knowledge there. So, I mean, Bankless is one I've heard come up countless times as far as podcasts were concerned, of just something that has really good content, really good information. I know Laura Shin has been a reporter in the space for years now. She has a great podcast and she has, lots of good information out there. There's great videos out there. Books. I mean, they're if you can stomach technical stuff, Mastering Bitcoin, Master Ethereum are great. If you're non-technical, Internet of Money is also another really great way, to go in and kind of go, to do that, or to learn about the space. That's education. But the truth is that getting involved is a lot of fun. And so right now, I'm launching a course called NFT 14. It's a little bit more technical, but not too technical, that really teaches what makes up these NFT companies. One of the things I didn't like about tutorials is that it always felt like they were just teaching you a narrow slice of a full thing where it's okay, well, I have a contract, but how do you get to thousands of NFTs? How do you do this? Really from an operational perspective. So we created this 14-day program beginning to end that takes you from, here is an idea. You want to create some community, some idea. And then we literally take you through, here's how you design the different pieces. Here's how you make the art. We literally go into Canva and have everyone make their own NFT art. Then we're going to put it into a contract. Then we're going to deploy it. And I give you all the code and everything that's needed. So by the end, one professional workflow on how these things are built. So I create programs like that. There are other great programs that are also doing stuff that are all value there. And if you're super serious about it, especially from a technical side, that's what devMint School is about, to really get you placed within 8 weeks and upskilling you on that to really go. But if you're a little bit technical and looking for help there, NFT 14 is a free course and program. I have that out there. So that's my answer to how you learn more.
And where do you get to NFT 14? How do you find it?
It's NFT14.xyz. That's that's the cool thing with .io is out, .xyz is in. So NFT14.xyz is out there. You can go sign up. Cohort 1 is starting on Monday, which is our first program. We're going to have more cohorts behind that for different programs here. To go do that. So that's the main website, and then everything else.
I may join. That sounds like a fun thing. How long is the course?
It's 14 days. It's 15, 20 minutes a day to do that. And I got to say, I did the art actually, and I did that, and it's now up on testnet OpenSea, where I called it Happy Weed. Basically, it's an old business idea I had. That's okay, it's now an NFT, and literally I made the art myself. I'm not an artist and do that, but Canva just gives you enough of the stuff. It was just a ton of fun, to go and build that. But then you really get to see oh, this is how you made thousands of these things. This is how you get out and do a lot of these. This is how you do that. So when you see it, you might actually go and appreciate, okay, this is what NFT artists are actually doing. This is what the actual material is behind that. And I hope that if this program works, we can go behind this and do DeFi 14 and other free programs. I just think this model of teaching folks is really, really useful because it gets you a habit to actually build. and, actually teaches you a little bit about the industry while not being too time intensive.
I think you sold me on that one.
Good.
You have at least one convert here. I may try that. That sounds like a lot of fun. Brian, thank you so much.
Sure.
I always learn something from you. This has been such a fantastic conversation. Why don't you say goodbye and leave us with one thing that you want us to get up and do or take away that, all of us who are thinking about Web3 and sitting in the sidelines and not getting in what we should do to get in and get to that opportunity.
Don't ask for permission. That is the biggest thing. That is the biggest piece of advice I have for anyone who's entering in the space. It doesn't feel right. It feels like we've been trained kind of to wait for a manager or someone to say yes to us to go and do those things. But the truth is that these are all decentralized organizations. No one's going to bless you and say, yep, you're ready to go off and do that. So just start contributing. Keep it time bound and say, I'm going to build this thing for 5 days and we're going to see where we're at. I'm going to go into this community and see that. Get involved with communities. Figure out what problems they do. Find the problems you are uniquely there to solve that you can actually go and do, and then start solving them. And because I promise you'll eventually find a community that loves what you're doing. They're going to do that. I mean, it's crazy. I joined a program a while ago called Web3, basically. I was started by Sahil Lavignia. And I started building courses for them and started building contracts and doing all these things. By the end, people thought I was a co-founder of the project. No, I was just some dude who was there just trying to help there. But that's the power of this industry. You can go and get involved and do that. Don't ask permission, just start creating value.
Thank you, Brian. I love that message. So good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everyone, for joining and saying hello. I love the advice of not taking for permission and be that dude, some dude that everyone thinks is a co-founder. Do that. That's a good thing. Be that dude, or dudess or gal or whatever your identity is. But be that person that everyone thinks is a co-founder. That may or may not be, but do get some equity. I do like that advice that Brian gives. That's a really good advice. It's solid. It works. I've seen it in action many times. Equity is important. I will definitely sign up for the NFT 14. That sounds exciting. I was looking for ways to do more creation, and that sounds like enough structure that I can probably stomach it. So really super excited about that. We will put some links so that you can check it out. 2 things. Do come back. We'll have more conversations like this where we can learn together. And I will share my learnings creating NFT 14 so you know what happened to me. And if you have suggestions who we can collectively learn from together, people like Brian who are building, who are thinking, who are searching for opportunities, who are early adopters and who are being very creative. Let me know who those people are. Definitely, DM me or put a suggestion there. And if that person is you, I consider it to be an act of courage to nominate yourself. So don't ask for permission and nominate yourself if you think you can add to this conversation. Anyway, thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.